Hey, this is Rob with Matchbox 20, and we've redecorated the hang, so you should come in and check it out. Mad Season was kind of just documenting us and what we had been through in this last little bit of time, and how the more you learn, the less you really know, and that's why the whole tag on the song is "I feel stupid," but it won't last for long, because you feel like you know everything when you get started, and then the more you learn, you're like, oh my God, I still have so much to learn. I don't know anything at all. We were all realizing that we're heading into and some are past our 30s, and didn't want to be in a band with a number in the name, Matchbox 20. It just, to us, it sounded like, okay, we can't be in that band anymore. And then when we wrote it out, it didn't seem so bad anymore. It seemed like, okay, we can be in this band. This one's okay. And so it was totally supposed to happen just within our, we didn't think anybody was going to go, what is this band? There's two Matchbox 20s, we didn't think people were idiots or anything. But it's so funny because every interview we do, they're like, so you're changing your name? And I'm like, yeah, from 20 to 20. I remember one time we were at the Grammys, and we had already lost. It was a pre-televised event, and we had already lost. So our plan was, we showed up, did the press line, and then as soon as everybody went in for the actual Grammys, we darted out the side, so that we as a band could go have dinner or something, because it was like we'd never get to do that, so we were going to do that. And I'm standing there, and I turn around, and somebody goes, "Hey, John Fogerty wants to meet you." And I was like, excuse me? And he turned, and I was like, does he want to hit me or like what? And he comes up and he shook my hand and he said, and this was, I thought it was great. This was the year that he had won for Best Rock Album, when he, the big comeback album that he made, comeback. And he came to me and said that he thought that we should have won Best Rock Record that year, and he thought that we were one of his favorite bands. And it just freaked me out that John Fogerty had any idea who I was at all. Because you always feel like it's you, and like you're doing rehearsals and you're doing shows, but it's always kind of like there's you and your friends and the people that surround you and your family, and it still feels kind of like you're that local band, and you and your friends are hanging out and you're doing it, and it's all pretty an inclusive little world, and you're making the record, and you forget that anybody other than the people that you meet or people that come to your shows. And I was just like, John Fogerty knows who I am. That blew my mind. It freaked me out, and I was like, okay, maybe I'm getting somewhere. The beauty of all these different people, first off, musically working together on one record, the beauty of someone like Carlos, a legendary player, orchestrating all that and bringing all these people, in, and the idea of all the people that it reached out to. There was just a universality to this record that surpasses anything that I've ever been a part of, being in Matchbox, and any, that I would ever had a chance to see, with my own eyes, to really take in the scope of something like that, and with Carlos, I mean, it was his year, it was his album, and it was his whole parade, and it was everyone, I had a little float in it, and Wyclef had a float, and Eric Clapton had a float, and we all had our float, and he was at the head of it, moving it down the road, and it was nice, to be a part of that. I think people take music too seriously. I think that the whole idea of music was to alleviate some of that seriousness out of life, and some people get so, like I have a friend who's talking about the Bare Naked Ladies, and he says, bands shouldn't be funny. Well, who says that? Like, what is with that? And then I have friends who say, if they don't write their music, I don't want to talk to them. But, Frank Sinatra didn't write his music, and who was cooler than Frank Sinatra? Elvis Presley, even now, Celine Dion. Or you look at Bernie Taupin, who wrote the lyrics for Elton John. Does that mean that one is less, than the other? They're both just two, genius parks that work together. And without any of this, without the Corns, and the Limp Bizkits, without the Backstreet Boys and the NSYNCs, without the, the Third Eye Blinds and the Vertical Horizons, and without the Celine Dions and the Mariah Careys, like without having all of that working at one time, I think then pop music would be in trouble, But the fact that we have all that to choose from, I think it means that we're doing pretty okay.
I think on this record we explored a lot of instrumentation that we didn't on the first record. There's a lot of orchestration. There's a lot of use of horns, man. There's a lot of interesting just guitar layers that really just kind of exotic choice of notes and stuff like that really wasn't utilized on the first record. I would kind of like go overboard, just for the sake of doing that, and for the sake of like impact and shock, I was like the guy that was just, we gotta sell, this is like, I'm gonna be a rock star, jumping off on drums and kicking stuff, and I think that, I don't know, probably just a little more tame this time, you know? It's like, it's about the music, man. You don't have to sell it that hard. Good songs will always, you know, kind of capture people. And I feel that that's what, you know, the core of what this band's about. So I think that, you know, it's just, they're topics and there's kind of dialogue happening, and they're kind of things that that he says, and the songs speak to people in ways that we all kind of speak to each other. I think that, and then him winning the Granny. I mean, the Granny. Wow, is it early? It's not that early, is it? With him winning the Grammy was, of course, we were extremely proud of him, man. It was, you know, and then, but yeah, also, I mean, we knew that, you know, that how could it not help this record? You know, I mean, he's more visible than ever now. I love Beck. There's a guy that, you know, quote unquote, isn't as commercial, I don't think, as some of these other artists, but I mean, you know, he's the kind of artist that, you know, I can listen to his records over and over again, and I always kind of hear something, and just, it's just the kind of stuff that I think at years and years down the road, when, you know, I Want It That Way is kind of, you know, the I Want It That Ways, and the What a Girl Wants, and all those are kind of just put on the shelf as, you know, that part of pop culture or whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? I think Beck's still going to be making these records that are really art, you know?